Today's the last day of year 7 and the final day for our sitting superintendent, Dr. April Grace. And you know, 7 is the perfect number, as I believe, and Dr. April Grace has really shown wonderful leadership throughout our community and especially for our children over the last 7 years. And we get to talk to Dr. April Grace now. Dr. Grace, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys this morning? I always love talking to you guys.
We're doing really well. Thank you very much. It's always fun. But you've had so much success in your 7 years with Shawnee Public Schools. And for one, I've had students underneath you, and I know they all loved you as a superintendent as well. Thank you, April, for all that you've done for Shawnee, first and foremost.
Oh, Daniel, I appreciate that. It's been an honor of a lifetime to serve this district and this community, such a unique place with special people, and no place I'd probably rather go out into retirement, or as I say, changing lanes and sort of out of this aspect of things. So it's been an honor, truly been the honor of my life to serve this community and this district, and phenomenal kids and amazing staff members, and it's just it's been beautiful, and I've had an extraordinary career, so I couldn't be more blessed than to be sort of landing the plane here in Shawnee.
Well, I knew from our first interview, that we really had a special individual in you, Dr. Grace. The professionalism that you bring and the outlook and the vision you brought for our district, unparalleled, if you ask me. And you've had some major accomplishments that were recognized statewide and even some nationally with what you've done here. So first of all, let's talk about the health ways in which our kids now are being taken care of via telemedicine, and the breakthrough that was early in your tenure.
Yeah, we were the first district in the state to offer those telemedicine clinics within our schools. And for us, it was really just a way to help bridge some services and wraparound services for families. So, for some parents that work, it's hard to get off and take your student to the doctor. And if we could do that within the context of our school district, that was great. Our head nurse, Loretta Haffey, is actually the one who brought it to me to have conversation about. And it just made so much sense. And thinking about our parents who may have limited access to transportation or flexibility in schedule. And so we did it, and we did receive a national award for that innovative leadership aspect and putting those in our schools. So that's been great. It's helped us also be able to sign people up for sooner care and services and benefits that they didn't even know that maybe they were eligible for. So we look at it as more than just families who all have health insurance that know already what they need to do and are convenient for that parent, but as a way also to bridge the gap in the community to help families get connected to services that maybe they didn't even know that they had an opportunity to have for their family and their student. And so it's just been a blessing to do that for the community.
Well, you talk about Nurse Mahaffey, and she brought it to you. Something that people don't realize is that under your leadership as well, that Shawnee Public Schools was recognized as a top workplace in many statewide publications. Talk about that. I know you come from a human resources background, and it means very much to you, the people who work with you.
Yeah, I think it's just always hopefully taking time to listen. I had a teacher advisory group for several years. Of course, the pandemic kind of threw a lot of things out of schedule, and we kind of never got back to the way I would like. But it's always been important to me to have good working relationships with all of our groups of staff members. And so, I think the thing about education is everything we do, every award I've won, Superintendent of the Year, Arts Administrator of the Year, all of those things are really a collective representation of the work we do together. It's, I just happen to sit in the seat that gets the recognition, but I don't do that. None of those come to me on my own. It's just a result of a collective representation of work that we do together as a staff. And so I think it's really important that we've tried to stay really competitive and ahead of the game in this area on wages and pay and benefits, and just creating that environment where individuals have time to collaborate and just continuing to try to evolve. I think we have to remember that we can't stay stuck while I think sometimes we've stayed stuck a little bit in a factory model of education and it's time to be a lot more innovative, I think you have to think about that same thing with your employees. What do they need from you? Because teachers need something different from us now than they did 15, 20 years ago. And that's not to say some of those components weren't similar, but there are different things that they need now. And I think we just have to always remember that.
Well, being recognized by your peers as the 2021 State Superintendent of the Year, what an honor that is for our entire community. And the 2020 Superintendent's Award for Arts Excellence, the 2019 School Administrator Award from Oklahoma School Librarians. You have been littered with a lot of awards. But what really stands out to me is there's only been one other president of the Oklahoma Association of School Administrators, other than April Grace, our superintendent. And for a community that boasts the largest number of women-owned businesses and awarded that recognition in the state, you as a school administrator led that charge as well. What does it feel like for you as a state administrator and leading the state as a woman?
Well, I think, sometimes you feel like you have to be 3 times better at the job as a woman to lead, especially in a very male dominated profession. But I'll have to say, I've always had tremendous respect bestowed on me from my colleagues. And I don't know that I ever necessarily felt boxed out or limited in those ways. And maybe that's just because I just kind of did my work and stayed after it. I was the association president for the HR association for like 6 years, because that's one that you're just nominated by your peers. It's a different process. But being the second female ever in the 90-year history to lead our superintendent association, I think can't go unrecognized. I think it's something you have to take in. And it had been a 30-year gap in between the two of us. And so it's a pretty substantial thing. And there currently still is no female now again on that executive board. So it is a rare thing. We just don't have another female officer and haven't for years and years. It wasn't only president. I was one of the executive officers for that period of time. And so, it's just a tremendous honor for your peers to vote you in on that and to have that level of confidence in you. And certainly my peers have bestowed a lot of confidence in me through many other things. And so I just feel incredibly blessed. And I just attribute that to the fact that for me, I just never really sought those things. It was just always about the kids and the work and lifting the tide in every way I could. I have 3 E's I live by all the time, and that's elevate, encourage, and empower. And so I always try to elevate everything I'm a part of, whether it's just a conversation or an evening with friends. I encourage everyone to kind of do that and be the best version of themselves, and then empower people in every way that I can, depending on the position or the resources or whatever I have, network. So for me, I think that's just been my driving force. And as a result, I've just been incredibly blessed.
Yes, and we have been incredibly blessed. I, for one, have always believed that Shawnee is a platform that anyone can do anything that they ever strive and would like to do. And April, you certainly have brought your 3 E's into our community and helped so many young ones. But I would be amiss if I didn't point out as well, not only were you the first in 30 years, but also you are nationally recognized as one of the top 25 female leaders in our entire nation by the ASA National Women's Leadership Consortium. And what a great honor that must have been to know top 25 in the country, which might be the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been incredibly blessed to be around other, like-minded females in the profession that are just serving kids and community and trying to make great work environments for staff and trying to move the needle forward for kids. And so I was incredibly blessed to be selected to be part of that early on. I do still continue to do a lot of things involved on the national level with different women in leadership groups. And I hope to continue to find ways to contribute and stay connected to all of those things. I've been blessed to serve on a lot of national boards and a lot of regional boards, and I hope to stay connected to some of those in the future as well. So again, I don't have too many more words other than the fact that I've just been extraordinarily blessed, Danielle, and I've been able to intersect in my life with some amazing people who I always say splash a little paint on the canvas of our lives and help us come out with this beautiful history picture, and I'm no exception to that.
Well, I certainly can appreciate that. And what I've noticed about you, April, in your leadership style is that you always look for the positive, meaning if something hits, it's an obstacle, but how are we going to overcome that obstacle and actually get better through that obstacle? And I know you're an old basketball player. All right, I'm sorry. In years past, you were a basketball
I'm
player.
old too. I'm fair. It's fair game to say old. That's fair.
Dean Smith, one of the best basketball coaches of all time, says you improve by playing the good teams. The effort is the big thing. If we play hard, the best I think we can, and still lose, then I have to be pleased regardless of the outcome. And April, in your tenure, our community faced, a century of hardships and what people could classify as losses. But through all of those, you have come through and made us stronger and stronger. How have you dealt with those things? And is there anything that stands out to you? And I'd really like to be candid, if you don't mind, that was a really hard time for you in our community as superintendent, and what the process was to work your way through and come out the other side successful.
Well, number one, I think you have to look at everything is an opportunity to improve ourselves and make sure that we're doing all the right things. And, these jobs don't come without a lot of criticism. And you have to really understand that. And you have to, I think about the 4 agreements: take nothing personal, be impeccable with your word, all of those pieces of that work. And I think that's just, for me, that's where I've always stayed grounded. I try not to take things, personal when hardships come, but I also look at them as an opportunity. How do we stretch? How do we grow? How do we continue to evolve and get better at everything that we do for kids and community? Because I tell our staff all the time, if not for kids, none of us exist, right? Everything we do should be centered around the work for kids and community. So I just have always taken that approach to it. And for me, it's, you make the next right decision, the next best decision you can. We've, gone through a pandemic, tumultuous personnel situation, now a tornado. And really, you just have to keep putting your best foot forward every day, knowing that you're making the best decision you can in that moment in time with the information you have. Sure, looking backwards or looking at a different slant or looking from a different scope after other things, show up. Well, yeah, maybe you would have made different decisions. And I think that's just normal in leadership. But I've always tried to make the best decision I could. And I've tried to, always take the higher road regardless of whatever firestorms may come, because that is part of leadership. It is part of what happens. And I always say you can't let the accolades get in your head, and you can't let the haters get in your heart. So, you just got to stay the course and understand the work that you're doing and what it means to do that work. And again, I've been incredibly blessed with a very supportive board, been very blessed with incredible staff members who also, help carry those loads and help continue to make you better as a school district. And, it's easy for people to place blame or place recognition, either or, and it's going to fall on that top leadership person. And, you just have to understand that, and you just have to stay focused. For me, I'm very focused on the overall mission, and the overall mission is about kids and community, and I stay focused on that. And so I try to block out as much of the noise as I can, whether the noise is praise or whether the noise is criticism, because both do come.
Yes, they do, and that seems right in line with what Coach Smith shared, is always trying to do your best in that moment. And it's a bit I don't want to say ironic. You're the teacher. You could help me in the classroom, but coming down to the end, you've announced your retirement. You're kind of getting things in order, things tied down, but there had to be one more catastrophe before you took off. And you've been working hard since April 19th. I know you've been in a lot of meetings on a daily basis with a lot of people, but the fact remains, our school district, there's a lot of things that when you drive through the community, you see ruined. And they're going to have to be repaired. They're going to have to be fixed. And I know you have all the confidence in the world in your successor, who comes right from your staff, and Dr. Espolt. But you are in this position, and for the final time, I'd ask, could you give us a report on where we're at and what the outlook is for our school district and how we're actually going to financially get there?
Well, there, still unfortunately a lot of moving parts, and I always say, I guess I just had one more thing I needed to check off that list as a superintendent of things to have navigated, managed, and we've still continued to be working with the insurance company and their adjuster. They've not finalized their reports. We hired a public adjuster, so we had somebody working on our behalf, and they have their adjuster, and so. Hopefully, we're told finally maybe tomorrow they'll have an ACV, but they've been the holdup. And we're waiting on them. And unfortunately, until we get that from them, they don't release funds. So we don't have the funds to continue to do those things. So, you're trying to be as creative as you can. I felt blessed that we were able to get kids back in the building for at least a short period of time. While some criticized that, for me, it was knowing that when we went through COVID, there was no closure for people. So if we could give people an opportunity to get back in school, even the high school, even if it was just 1 week, to get that final closure, that final time together, I think is really meaningful. And for some years from now, it'll mean more than it maybe did that particular week. But, the opportunity just to get them back together, and those kids have gone through a lot from their sophomore year on. So, from an outlook, though, there will be a lot of things that are in. We're still waiting to find out: is the transportation building totaled? Is this totaled? Is that totaled? What's going to have to come down? So, from a facilities perspective, the district will be limping for a bit, so to speak. But we're working on, some things to get things in place so that August, when school rolls around, that things can go off. And obviously I won't be here to take care of some parts of that over the summer, but we're trying to get those things aligned in every way we can. I will continue to advocate for the district and will continue to do everything I can. I'll be available by phone call anytime if there's anything I can help with. But we've got, Jim Thorpe doesn't have a location, so we're working on a location for them while insurance funds come in and you figure out what you need to be rebuild. And of course, some of those buildings aren't going to be insured for what it's going to probably take to build them back, maybe because of the age of some of them or maybe how the district acquired them in the past. So there are policy limitations on some of those things that are just realities. And so I think, the future will be, they'll need to be looking at passing another bond to help supplement some of those things and to think about, what does that facility look like in the future and what does it need to look like in the future as we think about sort of this forward casting vision of the district and what does the district really need. So, you've got lots of buildings. Is Brackeen going to have to be totaled? We lost the small animal ag barn. That's not going to be resurrected overnight. You've got backstops with softball that have to be repaired before softball can even have games there. All those things have to be ordered. There's a big timeline. Not to mention there are probably 100 HVAC units that have damage. Some of them we were able to get sort of temporary repairs on to get school finished out, but they are not long-lasting solutions, nor are they permanent solutions. There's lead time for all of that. There's permanent roofing repairs that have to be done. I think the overall claim is probably going to toggle even before contents, somewhere between $27 and $30 million. So substantial damage. Press box at the stadium. So trying to figure out, we've been in contact with OSSAA, trying to figure out what has to happen in order for games to be played on the field. Have to have scoreboards, have to have PA systems, things like that. We may not have a press box. So how do we set up those situations so that games can be played on the home field? The south side of the pack is damaged. what extent is that going to, which is why we need the insurance people to wrap up their stuff. Our adjuster is done. We're waiting on OSIG's adjuster, and it's a insurance group. And so trying to get them to finalize anything lately has been an act of Congress to try to get them to happen. And so, we'll be continuing to leverage and move everything in every way we can. But OSIG has been our problem at this point, and holding up what needs to happen for the district to move forward. Because again, we have to have their adjuster has to get their stuff to their people who can then release funds so that the district can move forward. We can't issue POs without funds on hand. Those are the laws that surround school districts. So it is a complicated, very complex process. Dr. Oswalt and I visit every day about this. The blessing was that the board ended up picking somebody that was internal, that was already here. So a transition of this type after this kind of catastrophic event, has been a blessing to have somebody that could be here every day, so that was working through this together. Whereas if somebody had been coming from an external district, that may have been substantially more complicated to get this transition process completed. Like I said, I'll be around to assist, answer questions, be a sounding board, any of those things. But, middle school should be fine. Again, the bigger questions are going to be how quick will they release funds to us to get HVAC done, because there are a number of moving parts. We have to have a place for transportation. We have coolers that were damaged, so we have to have food stored so that child nutrition can pull off. So again, a lot of moving parts. The actual classrooms themselves, the majority of them at the high school, middle school, all of our elementaries, the classrooms are functioning. But it's going to be hot in August. So yes. HVAC units, roofing permanently fixed, those things need to happen sooner rather than later, and we are running out of time. Temporary sports facilities are also a big deal. So we're going to have to do some work over at the old middle school gym to try to have a space for wrestling and basketball and things to be able to practice. Obviously, Stucker is gone. We're waiting to determine if they're going to have to demo, if in the demolition and totaling Stucker, does that mean demoing the safe room? As you know, it did its job. All of the engineering reports show that if had people been in there, they would have been safe. But as a result of those 2-ton HVAC units coming over on top of that roof, there are some metal structures up in the roofing aspect and in parts that are bent. And so it's not something they can go in and fix. And so if you took another direct hit like that one was on that building, would people still continue to be safe? Those are questions that engineers have to answer, and that they'll have to determine, will that facility also need to come down? And then you start back over with the whole thing. So some of that, again, we're kind of in a holding pattern until the OSIG adjuster can get signed off. And then how quickly can OSIG get us the funds to begin moving forward? And obviously they'll do depreciation and hold out that portion, and they'll hold out the additional 25% for rebuild. And, there's that whole process. But, how much will they issue us up front to get started? Because, again, the district has to have money in the bank from those funds in order to issue purchase orders to begin started. So,
Sure.
It's an interesting dilemma, but I do, school should start on time. Mm-hmm. Classes should be in session. And hopefully they'll get forward with HVAC.
So I'm like-minded with you, and I know that you feel this way. Great things can come from disaster, April. And as you work through this in this tough period of time, what's the really good things that you see might be able to sprout if we're able to, as a community, to rally and come from this disaster that we really need to be looking towards in a vision standpoint? What do you think?
Absolutely. So, it's a great opportunity to, as you're restoring and rebuilding, to go back and do things better, right? And to we need to have enhanced ag facilities for our ag program and enhanced facilities for band. The football field still needs turf on it. So you have a real opportunity also to leverage this at the same time with perhaps coming back with a bond stacked on top of it and really elevating the facilities and elevating those not for anybody but for kids so that we can do the work for kids, right? So you can make this a phenomenal experience, high school experience for students. And so, I think that's the beauty of it is there's a real opportunity to sort of lift a whole lot of things. The middle school gym, the old middle school gym is a facility we've always used. We've been in a holding pattern for a bit, needing to do some work over there because the community uses that. We partner with the YMCA, youth leagues are there. They were playing also at Stucker. So it's an opportunity to rebuild some things. When you look at what was just done with Kids Space and what a phenomenal, extremely incredible place that is, and now what they're also doing over here at the water park, which is right near the administration building, and this phenomenal, facilities, what an amazing opportunity for Shawnee to be able to come back and enhance and uplift every facility in a way that just makes it phenomenal for kids and for staff members. And so I think those are all the things that can continue to come from it. We did a lot of work on Stucker building and on baseball and all these things. So you have a chance to put those things back, but then to make things even better. And I think that's the beauty of it is the district is set on a trajectory at this point in time based on the work we've done the last 7 years. And then now the unique position of this catastrophic event to really go leaps and bounds and just be on this incredible trajectory that can just be phenomenal for the community and for the students. It's kind of like COVID. I kept wanting us to do some things differently and move forward a little sooner and faster than we were with technology, with one-on-one. Yeah. COVID uniquely positioned us to quickly, overnight, have to do that. There was no maybe or if or we had to wait till we got everybody on board. It was, no, we had to go. All systems had to be go. And so it pushed everybody forward. And I think this can do that same thing, right? It's just that opportunity to reimagine. My saying since I've been here has always been reimagine, redesign, and redefine. And this is one more opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that is a great point in the sense of out of a disaster like COVID, you were able to push forward very quickly because you had to. And I know that nobody around has more confidence in Dr. Espelt coming in and with his talents being able to help lead. We're certainly going to miss you, but I'd like you now to kind of introduce us to our new superintendent from your perspective as being his superintendent for a few years and what we have to look forward to and why we are going to succeed in these things that you're talking about right now.
Yes. So Aaron is phenomenal when it comes to this facilities piece, and he has a vision for facilities. He and I have spent a ton of time talking about those things. That's really his wheelhouse. He loves that whole creation, thinking about how we can make this better, how we can take even a facility that maybe needs to be rehabbed. So this is completely in his wheelhouse. He loves the facilities aspect. He's going to love having the opportunity to rebuild some of these facilities and add on and enhance. And so I think his energy with that and his foresight with that's going to be fun for the community and fun for the district. And I look forward to seeing the facilities that they create.
I do too. And I look forward to getting to meet Aaron and be able to talk with him. And Dr. Grace, again, what a great job that you have done. I truly believe that we had the best superintendent in the state for the last 7 years. And I think that with the accolades, it's true. Those are, those come and they go, as does the criticism. But heart to heart, the spirit of what you brought for our kids and the entire school district, from the bottom of my heart and for our community, I want to say thank you very much for all that you've accomplished.
Thank you, Danielle. Like I said, it's been the honor of a lifetime to be here, and I plan on still popping up at games and stuff. So maybe I can help you do commentary at some games. You never know. I might pop in and help you cheer on the Wolves. So I've got lots of Wolves gear, and I plan on showing up and still being around and still being involved and cheering for Shawnee because it's a great community. And this is a phenomenal school district with a lot of opportunities. So I look forward to still hanging around some.
Well, you know I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you very much. And I will see you at the commentators table. Thanks a lot, Dr.
That's
Grace.
right. All right.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Wow, it's always been great to work with Dr. April Grace, and we certainly wish her the best as she now changes lanes. And we look forward to working with Aaron Espult, Dr. Aaron Espult, as the rebuild will begin and continue for many years. And as a community, we know that we have to support our kids. We have to support our school system. And what a great space that we are. If you see Dr. Grace at a game, be sure to say hello. And if you see Dr. Espult and you have some questions, don't hesitate to talk to people. Thank you again for tuning in.